Public safety is the first priority during any snow and ice control on the city's 1,400 miles of streets. Not only during the height of the storm, but afterward as well. Ambulances and fire trucks find themselves weaving their way through city streets narrowed by illegally parked and abandoned cars, the biggest problem during cleanup operations.
They cause a safety hazard, either because they're blocking an alley, a driveway, or they're congesting the right-of-way.
And if you don't move it from the right-of-way, someone else probably will. The city hired 7 additional companies to help its primary tow contractor clear city streets. That put 35 to 40 trucks on the road, clearing up the backlog of snowbound vehicles.
Basically, if a vehicle has been parked on the city street in excess of 24 hours in the same location, that's in violation of the city ordinance. Now, again, we normally don't tow those vehicles just because they've been there. The normal procedure would be to cite those vehicles with a citation. But because of the consecutive snowstorms, a lot of the vehicles are snowbound. And that's basically what we are concentrating on now, the snowbound vehicles. We're basically towing those vehicles under the abandoned auto ordinance, which require us to come out and ticket the vehicle, placard it, and return in 48 hours. And if the vehicle is still there, then it's tow eligible.
In December, some 3,000 vehicles fell into the abandoned and snowbound category. If your car is towed, it will most likely end up at the city tow lot at 38th and Lincoln.
This lot that you're standing in has 2,100 spaces. However, it has the capacity to hold 2,600 cars. And the reason why is we designed it just for this very feature. We designed it for a snow emergency. I would say the majority of cars that are on the lot right now are the result of being placarded because they're abandoned and obstructing traffic.
You should know that when your vehicle arrives at the tow lot, city workers carefully document for the second time its description and condition.
Document right off the car, which means we double check whether what has already been done. And after that, the yard attendant will then videotape the car completely, inside and out. Anything that is open and exposed to us, we will videotape it. He will also narrate the videotape.
Trunk is open, no plates. There's a broken right rear opera window. Glove box is open, no radio.
We get as much detail as we can on film to document the way a car looked when it crossed our threshold. Again, this is done to ensure that the city is protected against claims, and sometimes it justifies the claim, I want to add. It is a procedure that I want to say that has helped the city immensely. It has cut down the claims from each year that we've used it.
As to getting your car back, you'll need a valid picture ID, registration or current title, and insurance coverage, and some cash.
Then they must present $80 for the vehicle reclamation fee and $11 a day. We accept cash, money orders, or various forms of charge cards. We do not accept personal checks. I guess the key thing is that if your car is towed, be patient. The more information you bring us, the quicker we can serve you. Those are the key things. If you do get towed, bring all the documentation. If you're not sure, call us, 286-2700. We're more than happy to tell you what you need. We also have a recorded message that is on 24 hours, 7 days a week, that's also convey this information.
The tow lot estimates the value of all vehicles. Those not claimed within 30 days can be sold. Those marked with a large M during the storms last December were earmarked for a trip to Miller Compressing, where they were destroyed.
If it has a salvage value of under $200, then it is slated to be what we call recycled, and the car is crushed. If it is over $200, we attempt to sell the car. We sell cars to licensed salvage dealers or licensed salvage dealers with seller's permit. Our goal is not to send a car to a J-bidder or to the scrapyard. It is to give it back to the person who owns the car. That's what we always want to do, above all else.
Severe storms often result in overtime for city crews and can also delay collection of garbage. You may not know that the same workers and equipment used for garbage pickup are also doing the snow plowing.
Most of the garbage collection people are also the people who do your plowing and salting. So they're oftentimes working long hours. What you find is that garbage collection will at times go a little behind schedule when we're doing a plow, but as quick as possible, we'll transfer them back into garbage collection to get it caught up. The crews themselves are facing a hard situation when it comes down to an alley or garbage cans that have not been cleaned. It makes their job exceedingly more difficult.
The size of the cleanup operation required the combined effort of city and private crews. Front-end loaders follow the plows, which can be out for 12 to 18 hours for each general plowing. In addition to regular winter parking regulations, the city implements special rules following a heavy storm to clear clogged residential streets. Unfortunately, many drivers also ignore those regulations, which again hampers the cleanup effort. Where the signs have had an effect, the difference on the streets is obvious. But it's difficult to get back to normal when cars and drivers add to the hazards for city workers.
The people who are physically doing the cleanup, you have cars that don't seem to be paying attention to right-of-way and the size of equipment that's physically in front of them. The large equipment does not stop as quickly as a small vehicle, and it can sometimes get a little sticky when a car tries to jut around them. The garbage collection, when they're physically going through alleys that have not been cleaned, you're looking at snow drifts that can be 2 to 3 feet tall, pulling garbage cans out that are already have got garbage in them. You're looking at physical injuries, possibly to a shoulder or back. So it's much easier if people are cooperating and physically clean them up.
Sanitation workers are not required to remove carts buried or frozen in snow. City law requires that property owners clear a path to the garbage carts. Notices were issued to residents following the December storms. If city crews have to shovel out a garbage cart, a bill for the work is added to the property tax bill. City law also requires that property owners remove snow and ice from adjacent public sidewalks 24 hours after the snow stops falling. 215 citations with fines up to $100 were issued in December. 132 properties were cleared by city crews, with the $50 to $75 fee assessed to the tax bill. Advice for future storms: be patient, clear garbage carts, watch where you park.
My advice is park where you should park. Obey the signage that are up. Look at alternate side parking if that is the case of your street. If you're not sure, contact night parking desk or your local police district.
Once the streets have been plowed and the snow emergency has been lifted, then you can go back and especially on the side streets, maybe just park on one side, or if your car is snowbound, if you can dig the car out, move it to the other side, at least rotate them so the plows can get down those streets.
During a severe storm, MPS makes a number of playgrounds available for parking from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. You can also park in designated city lots. Information on their locations and any other general parking questions is available at 286-8350 or your local police station. You can check on snow emergency information with the City Hall Information Desk at 286-2150. And remember, you could save a life by clearing snow from a hydrant in your neighborhood.
My name is Mr. Sikora, and welcome to Forest Home Library. What kind of noises are in this city?
Birds.
Birds?
Scary birds.
Do you hear garbage trucks in the city?
No.
Buses?
No. Yeah.
Cars?
Yeah. And people.
People make noise too, right?
These mostly 3-year-olds from Guadalupe Head Start are enjoying a story just for them during a special visit to the library. They and their teachers are becoming partners with the library in the Books to Go program.
Books to Go is a program designed to bring daycares into the libraries and to bring the library services to the daycares. This way, we're bringing books to these kids that possibly would not have access to the library. And in this way, we'll increase all these children's reading readiness skills. Reading readiness skills determine how successful children will be in future years in school. And if we can increase their reading readiness skills, it's proven that they'll do better in school. So it's very important to the kids in Milwaukee.
While the project targets children who are generally from low-income homes, all City of Milwaukee child care centers are eligible to take part in the federally funded program. A call to 286-BOOK will bring help in choosing books, to schedule a visit to the library, or an introduction to the Books to Go program.
I actually visit the centers. I give them, they get a Books to Go library card, a backpack, Books to Go backpack, library books, films that were checked out on their card, a window cling to let everyone know that they are part of this program, let the parents know that they're promoting reading within their center. And then I help them set up a visit to their local library, get them started on a story time, where when they come to the story time, then they'll receive the free teacher resource book, and the children will all receive stickers that say, "I'm a Books to Go kid." It's fun, and it helps them develop in all sorts of ways besides reading. It helps them develop language development and gets them prepared, so it won't be so hard once they enter school.
Songs, finger plays, and puppets all add to the enjoyment of a visit to the library. All can help excite the children about reading. But librarians say you're never too young to start.
And so we've got the books there for those kids, and then we've got the books for the 2s, the 3s, and all the way until they're in school.
Estelle Sokol learned the joy of reading over 80 years ago and visits the library every day, although she says she now skips the romance novels. Estelle hopes the kids follow her lifelong example.
Oh, I've been reading since I went to first grade, I guess. I started to read books and go to the library, and you meet good people here, nice, interesting people, and it's educational, and it's a good pastime.
Get them excited about reading, then let them go. The library works to keep up that enthusiasm with newsletters filled with ideas for sharing books with children and a guide for creating story programs at the Child Care Center. The Guadalupe teachers are just as enthusiastic as the youngsters as they partner with the library to give the gift of reading to preschool-age children.
The books are an important part of our school. What we do is we stress to the children that we learn to take care of our books. We learn that books are a very important part of schooling. It's a very important part of children's lives and everybody else's lives.
This poster illustrates Rufus King High School, an Art Deco-style structure popular when the school was completed in 1934. The school, with elaborate woodwork, tiles, and stone carvings, is named after Milwaukee's first school superintendent. Inserts on the poster depict the fairy tale decorations which cover Emanuel Philip Grade School on 16th Street. Completed in 1931, it's named for a prominent Milwaukee industrialist and Wisconsin governor. The schools were among the attractions for residents like William Gore, who moved here 39 years ago.
When I first moved here in '62 into this community, Rufus King and the Rufus King Generals were highly touted. It was viewed as one of the better schools in Milwaukee.
Gore says King went through a period of decline, but the high school for the college-bound is once again a source of pride.
So much so that it is now one of the finest schools in the state of Wisconsin, which helps our neighborhood.
The Rufus King neighborhood is a compact area from Capitol Drive to an industrial corridor along Cornell Street, from Green Bay Avenue to Titonia. Urban settlers crossed Capitol Drive in the 1920s, with block after block of new homes replacing greenhouses and farms. Just over half of the present homes, most of brick or Lennon stone, were built by 1930. Bill Gore's home was built in 1939. He's only the second owner.
When I moved here in 1962, it was a neighborhood in a state of flux, in the sense that white people were moving out and largely African Americans were moving in. So it was a neighborhood in transition. Even within that framework, it seemed to be essentially stable. I didn't get the impression that people were fleeing en masse, but they were moving.
Gore says many African American educators, physicians, social workers, and other professionals were drawn to the King neighborhood. Baseball slugger Henry Aaron lived in the neighborhood. Gore, a former chair of Milwaukee's Fire and Police Commission, says he'd use the same word to describe the neighborhood now as he did when he moved in nearly 40 years ago.
Very stable in the sense that it's largely composed of persons who are homeowners, who tend to be concerned about their property.
Just down the block from Gore's residence is this home, built in 1936, the home of Darnell Bowles, who's been familiar with the area for a long time.
Well, my original interest is that I grew up on 6th and Abert, and I attended Rufus King. And walking to school, especially in the summer and the spring of the year, to see flowers, well-kept lawns, the streets were cleaned. You didn't see a lot of junk cars. And I said, oh, this is really a nice neighborhood. It had that suburban feel, but you were still centrally located.
After a career with the military, Darnell returned to Milwaukee and still liked what she found in the neighborhood.
The majority of the people in this area are homeowners. The neighborhood schools are still here. As Bill said, I was part of the Rufus King era that it was kind of going downwards, and to come back now and it to have national recognition as one of the top high schools was a plus.
Darnell serves as president of the 19th Place Block Club, formed a couple of years ago in response to vandalism and safety concerns.
We're not very big in number, but we do stick together, and when there's an issue, we come together and try to, as they say, nip it in the bud.
The Milwaukee Northern Railway, an electric railway line from Milwaukee to Sheboygan, helped the flow of residents to this area. The line was abandoned in 1948, but part of its right-of-way remains alongside 20th Street. And its original brick car barn at 19th and Fiebrance, built in 1931, is still in use as a facility for Milwaukee County buses. In the 1950s and 60s, new plants and warehouses were being built between Cornell Avenue and the Milwaukee Road tracks. Green Bay Avenue, the original lifeline to the city, became an important commercial district, but Rufus King remains almost entirely residential.
In the immediate neighborhood, it is almost 100% residential, which adds to the stability. For example, there are no neighborhood taverns, for example.
The imposing Gospel Lutheran Lanenstone Church at 16th and Capitol was among those built in the 1930s to serve the area's religious needs. Another is the former Augustana Lutheran Church at 21st and Congress, originally a Swedish congregation, built in 1936. One of the neighborhood's last major landmarks appeared in 1961, the Atkinson Library, an important resource for the residents with a large collection of African American literature. The Atkinson, Capitol, and Teutonia Triangle is an important neighborhood shopping center.
Atkinson has, for my purposes, two great institutions. One is Perkins Family Restaurant, which is a real institution in this community. And I attend a church at 1616 West Atkinson, which happens to be the oldest black congregation in the state of Wisconsin. And it's one of the real pillars of this community and the Milwaukee community in general.
Like many Milwaukee neighborhoods, homes, shops, churches, and schools are vital to the neighborhood's well-being. So are its people.
It's definitely a neighborhood where the majority of us do band together and try to keep the appearance as a residential area to attract, homeowners that might want to be prospect homeowners that's looking for a good area. Everything that we need is right here. So that's how I would pitch it. We have our own little community here.